Welcome to Shipping Insight TV, where we interview maritime industry thought leaders to learn their views on how industry's drive to optimize and innovate is shaping the future. Good day and welcome to Shipping Insight TV, part of Shipping Insight's multimedia platform. Joining us today is Rob Walker, who is the founder and CEO of Surveys and Forecasts. Rob, thanks so much for joining Shipping Insight TV.
Thanks, Carleen. I'm pleased to be here. Thank you.
Now, one of the things that Shipping Insight likes to do is to talk to people that aren't within the shipping industry, but that have contributed to the shipping industry, but bring that global perspective to us. What do you think are the primary contributions that Surveys and Forecasts makes to companies today?
Well, our primary role is to get clients as close to customers and the decision-making process that customers use as possible. We utilize a range of methods and approaches, which include surveys, interviews, data analysis to get that sort of information out of the customer and into the hands of the client. We help them by understanding how their markets are structured, how they operate, the decision-making criteria that they use to make both what we would call the rational or financial decisions, but also the emotional and sort of right brain decisions that are also involved in that process. And I think in a lot of cases when we talk about B2B or maritime, we don't think of those as important, but in reality they are. So at a granular level, it means helping clients understand the features, the benefits, the characteristics of the products and the services that go into the decision-making process and finding out which of these are meaningful and leverageable.
Well, how do your services best apply to B2B companies?
Well, one of the things that's a risk for all companies, but I think it's maybe a little bit higher in the B2B realm, is that companies presume that they know what the customer is looking for. And that's, I think, a function of a couple of things. There's often a heavy R&D emphasis in industrial, maritime, B2B kinds of markets. They focus primarily on engineering improvements, assuming that customers are willing to pay for those improvements when that may not always be the case. In some cases, a low-tech solution might be adequate versus a high-tech solution that requires a lot of CapEx or retraining or that sort of thing. So we see in industrial product categories, sales-driven categories, a lot of times there's a little bit less attention paid to keeping the ear close to the ground and what the customer is looking for. And that's what we try to encourage clients to do, is to not only listen to obviously your sales force and what they're hearing from clients and the customers on the customer side for the clients, but also to be tuned into what the prospective clients are saying in terms of what their specific needs are.
Wonderful. Well, narrowing down the field a bit, how does Surveys and Forecasts provide value to a niche global industrial industry such as the maritime sector?
Well, the bottom line there is that it really all starts with listening and having a conversation. A lot of times people think, well, we don't need to do a survey, we don't need to quantify this or that. And in reality, whether you have 20 respondents or 2,000 respondents, it really is just another form of having a conversation with your customers or your prospects. It's no different than having a discussion with somebody who's buying a new car or buying a tool at Home Depot or in some other market, in some other category. There's a process that consumers generally go through: information gathering, assessment, trading off features and benefits. And so while not every category is linear and rational and A, then B, then C, it's really important to try to understand the sequence of events that goes into the decision-making process. And that's where we really do excel in terms of helping clients unpack all of that and really understand each of the elements in that sequence of decision-making, the decision-making process. And we think that there's a real opportunity for companies in maritime to get closer to the customers using a process like what we're talking about.
Especially when you're dealing with multi-million-dollar assets that
Absolutely.
can in the 40, 60, $120 million range.
Exactly.
Rob, what do you believe are the most effective tools for B2B communications today?
Thanks for the big question. There's a lot of possible answers to that, but I'll give you my philosophy about that, which are a few things. The most effective tools, and this is a bit of a self-evident remark, but the biggest and the most effective tools in B2B are the ones that are going to add the most value over time. So what does that mean? It means that it's unrealistic for a single email blast or a single podcast or a single thought piece or a blog to completely upend an entrenched market. What has been proven to be highly effective over time is messaging that talks about the problem from the customer's perspective. What are the pain points for the customer? What are the suggested solutions that could offer an improvement or a new way of thinking or doing something, or that can demonstrate competence or leadership on a particular topic or an issue, whether it's regulatory or legal or compliance, whatever it happens to be. But all of those things collectively can begin to change opinions and attitudes, and that's where it starts. It doesn't start with an immediate change to behavior. It starts with a change to attitudes and considerations. So one of the best ways to create effective communication, excuse me, is to generate a sense of partnership. So, and I've done this in other categories, and there's no reason why it can't work in maritime and B2B generally, is to generate a sense of partnership through research. So if you conduct a piece of research to help the client understand a particular issue, maybe it's ballast water treatment systems, maybe it's, emissions controls of some kind. You can tell that I'm not totally immersed in the category, but if you were to do a piece of research to try to understand those specific kinds of issues, and then you partner with the participants by sharing that research, that's going to generate engagement. It's going to generate credibility, a sense of partnership, and ultimately it'll generate some trust. So decision making doesn't happen with one event or one piece of communication. It happens over the long haul, and I think B2B and marketers in B2B especially would be well advised to think about it as a long-term continuous education process.
Well, thank you very much, Rob, for joining Shipping Insights. We've been talking to Rob Walker, who is the founder and CEO of Surveys and Forecasts.
Thank you.